No problem. Public topics. I would like everyone to please state your name for the record before you begin speaking. Thank you. Anyone? Yes, Linda.
I'm Linda. My name is Linda Weal, and I came to the town board meeting last month ago, talking about a private fundraising effort, not a town-led or a police-led fundraising effort, to buy a K-9 vehicle. I gave all of the information prior to last board meeting and at the last board meeting, and have resent it to the board. I am looking for assurance that the town would accept the vehicle for the purpose of having a Bloodhound if those funds were raised.
Can we respond?
Yes, I'm sorry.
So I have heard all of your stuff. I've talked with the chief about this quite a bit. I've talked to these guys about this. I have hesitation, and part of it is because you can get the money for the vehicle. There is a dog, I understand that. You're willing to help pay with whatever cost to get it up and running. Does that then obligate the town to having a K-9 vehicle in perpetuity, so the next time when we need a new $90,000 vehicle, which it will be easily that, and when we need another dog and maybe the same officer doesn't want to do the dog, do we have to, I worry about the obligation to continue it, and I also feel like we have a ton of stuff on our plate right now, so I have angst about doing it right now. I feel uncomfortable saying, yes, I want to do this right now until we get the SRO in place. We've got all these grant applications going on. We've got a lot of stuff going on, so I don't disagree that it's a great idea. I don't know that I'm comfortable with it right now. So that's my opinion. I just wanted to be very open.
Yeah. I feel as though the question of perpetuity has been asked and addressed as that I don't see why there would be an obligation for the town to continue in perpetuity. This began as a result of a few things, right? And initially I was asked to serve the board on the police reform committee back in 2020 when the state mandated that, and we sent out a survey to our residents asking about their attitudes toward the police. I was one of the residents that marked that I was scared of the police, right? I think there's a lot of bad news, and I think there's a lot of things on our plate that are not fun as a community. Certainly there's a lot of angst about bears, and it's sad, and there's a lot of discussion about short-term rental law and the complications and the legalities. Boat parking isn't fun, the crumbling infrastructure. I think it's really important for our community to have things to be proud of that mark us as special, that are celebrational, not to take away from the life-saving capability of a Bloodhound. There are examples. There's a recent example in the national news of 3 kids in New Jersey that were just saved because of the efforts of a Bloodhound. With Big Moose Ambulance being out of the picture, with Bloodhound's particular skills. And I hate to spring something on you or rush you, but I think anyone who does fundraising in the community knows that August and September are key months. and that is why I've been diligent. There are a lot of people who would like to donate, and I have to keep telling them that it is hinges on the town board being willing to accept the gift of the vehicle.
My understanding is I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, that, if we did accept the vehicle and have the officer bring the Hound on, that he's willing to accept the not changing at the time. I know there was like some concerns there as far as amount of time on the shift and stuff, and that seemed to get worked out. I don't know, maybe it's not the popular vote, but I'm always for services for the community in general. That there have been times when people have been missing or lost and hurt, and if it was kids missing or lost or hurt, and we could have had a bloodhound around here or something like that could do something like that. I'm personally not against that. If it was going to cost the town a ton of money up front, I understand the concern with the budget with that. That would be a budget concern, but I would think that going forward, so if the officer leaves or we don't have the bloodhound anymore, and we don't have somebody that's willing to take on that program, we would probably just auction off the vehicle at that point and close the program if it wasn't going to be. There's nothing saying that we have to. I don't think there's anything legally saying like once you have a bloodhound, you have to always have a bloodhound on the force. There's nothing written that way. So hopefully it would be something that would be. I guess that's one of my concerns as too is if we're going to go through all this, making sure that we have somebody that's dedicated to it too. So, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Well, you would think, and I don't know all the exact details, but getting a so-called free vehicle is wonderful. There's always maintenance with it. Every year it's going to need maintenance. She can tell you that. They all need tires. They all need brakes. They all need gas. Gas is expensive these days. Maybe this year that vehicle is fine and it doesn't need anything, but next year it will need. That's the community, the taxpayers paying for all that.
Well, I have broken down for you the high-end costs, right, of annual insurance is $1,000, as much as $1,000. It's somewhere between 8 and 9, most likely. Annual maintenance, oil changes, and tire rotations, essentially about $1,000, at least in the first 2 years where the vehicle's new. And new tires, roughly once a year, $2,300. It makes a total, a high-end total of $3,900. I've also offered to change the fundraising goal, and I would be willing to change the fundraising goal to cover 2 years or 3 years, whatever the pleasure of the board was for those additional expenses. If that's what it takes to have a bloodhound, I like the idea that kids engage with our police officers so they don't grow up like I did, scared of cops. I like the idea that I'm coming to you before we lost somebody, and that I'm not coming to you after a tragedy. I feel really called to this, and I can't explain why. And I'm passionate about it, and it turns out there are other people in this community that are. I've kept pretty quiet because this is a town decision, but I am certainly willing to change the fundraising goal to incorporate some maintenance and insurance and tires.
I can tell you flat out, I guess you probably got the gist of me tonight. We have a brand new supervisor that hasn't been through a budget yet.
We have a budget
She's learning a lot. We have a brand new board member that has not even been to a budget yet. I know I've looked at the budget this year. I know fuel already in a lot of the categories, we're not going to make it. Our town attorney, we're not going to make it. Police department, we're not going to make it. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just looking out to try to, when taxes go up and everybody else is complaining about food prices and everything else, we're the ones that are going to be sitting here in the hot seat. So I'm going to be pretty negative on a lot of these things that we're spending money on. So my 2 cents is if we're going to spend money on this, no.
I think this is fairly budget neutral, and by budget neutral I mean shouldn't affect your budget too much. It means somebody else is not driving a vehicle, right? So those miles in general are happening on a police vehicle anyway.
He's also required to take that vehicle home every day, and he doesn't live locally.
And feed the
There's
dog
that.
and put the dog
Well,
through.
I think that's taken care of through
Well, if you can advise on a fundraising goal that would make it a win, right, for your budget, if that is the main concern, then
I
that's
won't know
the,
that till I do the budget.
that's the goal. I would-
Truthfully, I will not know that information till 2023, after I try to do this budget, right?
Yeah.
Because it is my first year, so I apologize for that.
It's never easy, but I
No.
just see this year there's been some increases that,
That we're unexpected.
I think
Hugely
it's the
unexpected.
timing that perhaps is the struggle here, obviously.
Right, you need a new sewer and someone's offering you a car, and you're like, I don't
And we need.
want a car, I
body
want a
cams.
sewer.
We
Yeah.
need body cams. We need, there are other things, so it's not a bad idea, it's just a tough time.
yeah, we're not against the dog. I'm not against the dog and
No.
all those things. It's,
The whole idea is wonderful, but
somewhere we gotta just say no.
We're gonna get, if we get the SRO position, we need a vehicle for that. And we're working on a deal for a used vehicle to get that. Then we're also, if we look at that, then when budget time rolls around, we're gonna look at Ron's department and be like, you just got 2 new vehicles, we've got these expenses and those expenses, and hold the brakes when he needs other vehicles that have to be replaced. It's just a tough time right now to say, yeah, let's add another vehicle to the fleet.
And I can see the pros and cons of this. I will just say, to answer Kurt's question, do we need to keep going with the K-9? No. The average service life of a dog, a police dog that is 7 years. The trick is always to try to get the vehicle and the dog to the finish line at the same time. With our former K-9, which was a whole different, no pun intended, different animal, he was a bloodhound that didn't need to be, a bloodhound doesn't need to be recertified. We got rid of that K-9 because the vehicle was, we weren't going to dedicate another vehicle. So no, to answer your question, no, we don't have to replace it. I understand the budgetary concerns. I just want to throw out, to your point, Mike, big picture, we are going to have to replace the vehicle this next year. And then the year after that and the year after that, this vehicle would save on the other vehicles tremendously. That would be definitely a pro that you should consider. All right, I'm not trying to steer anybody. I'm just telling you that we, with
So you wouldn't be
Another vehicle
asking
can-
for another vehicle if you got this?
that's the
There
problem.
would be.
This is what I've said in every one of my emails. Please don't, I don't want it to be camouflaged. This is a dedicated K-9 vehicle. So I can't assign it to another person.
All right, no,
But
I
what
do
it does
that.
do is it takes one officer and
Right.
it eliminates them putting the miles on that other car. But no.
I understand.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, I've already
So,
thought of the other vehicles.
I just want to be clear,
Yeah.
where.
I know, I remember that, I know.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to get it on the record twice, and I'll just keep talking about it as as the time is right.
Thank you.